doing this program. Purdue contacted me 4 years ago to build a pilot car. We did 2 years of piloting, and then we did our last year was our first inaugural race.
My name is Danny White, and most of you got emails from me and correspondence, but I'm the Director of Motorsports for Purdue University, and I take care of our program that we refer to as IMSTEM. It's a motorsports-based program that involves medical, manufacturing, and motorsports, so the power of three. And so advanced manufacturing and motorsports goes hand in hand. What we did was we originally, under the Obama administration's Department of Energy grant, we had to create all these classes to teach new engineers and young engineers how to develop hybrid and electric vehicles. And to get the grant, what we did was we said, hey, we've had a go-kart race that we've done for 60 years. What if we do an electric division? One paragraph in a grant request, and that's what got us the grant. Dr. Brothers, your old friend, he's pretty slick at putting that in there, and we got the grant. So with that, we started off with what's called the International EV Grand Prix. We did it at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We did it for 7 years. And it wasn't too long. We had teachers like Kenny come along and say, well, why can't we do that for high school? Good question. So we have. And so what we did was we started with a program, an instant indicator that was for middle school based. Then, as we thought about that request and we did it, one of the things that we noticed was when we talked with Ivy Tech, we talked with Vincennes, we talked with Lincoln, we've talked with most of the colleges that do technology and engineering type stuff, and talked with somewhat, as an example, Dave Tucker from Vincennes, Glenn Roberson from Ivy Tech. They're both statewide vice presidents. And again, we even brought Lincoln Tech into the fold with us and said, what is it that we really need to do here? Do we all have a problem, issue, concern? And the answer was absolutely. This college and career readiness. And I actually found that I started at Purdue teaching in engineering education, as some of you from the old school days, that's first year engineering. So I was noticing that these kids have no ability. I mean, what made them decide to be an engineer? And I specifically, and he'll get sick and probably not feel well after I tell you again because he's heard it so many times, but I asked a kid one day, I was working on this stupid water jet pump. And I said, hey, run over the list of top drawer left side, get me a 3/4 inch box end wrench. Needless to say, 4 or 5 minutes later, as I looked over, he didn't know what I was asking him to look for. And when I asked him what, he said, what's a box end wrench? My response was, why do you want to be an engineer? Mommy said it's going to pay a lot of money. Keep talking. And so I did a survey. Based on things that continued to happen and occur, I did a survey with all my students in first year engineering. 90+% have never hammered a nail in a piece of wood. Way past 90% have never picked up a wrench, changed a tire, did any of those things that in my day was just part of growing up. So they've missed a lot of that, of what would have occurred naturally then without video games and the internet and all the things that we have to live with today. So we looked at it and we talked to them more and more and more. Well, we're having the same problem with math and science and certain issues. Each one of those schools that I mentioned, including Purdue, we all see a little bit, there's room for improvement. And so what we found in talking to the teachers, we didn't just go out and create any of these programs or anything. We talked very, very deep with a lot of different teachers at different school organizations around the state. And one thing we found was with this state testing, the kids that's not performing well, sometimes they'll want to put them over in a tech ed class or whatever, and they think they're going to affect their scores. And when we went into the tech ed classes, not the case. They do it, but in an applied way. And so as we've discovered, a lot of these things from visiting many, many schools, what we come up with is the top 20% are probably your AP students. They're not going to struggle much at all. You've got 60% in the middle that they don't know what they want to be when they grow up. And it comes when they don't know which classes they really need to take for what they want to do. And the hardest of all was IU comes out with a study that says 85% of students are being bored in the classroom every day. We can fix that. Because what it amounts to is that go-kart brings relevance to a lot of the math, the science, and the physics that they're learning in the classroom. So if it's done correctly, there's a lot of lights on moments where they'll say, oh, that's what that part of geometry was about. Well, yeah, you've got to figure all these angles and calculations to get that seat right based off of your height and weight and all kinds of different things. So, yes, I think that it makes a difference. And a lot of the students, as an example, I'll give you a feedback before I go much further with this, of Washington High School, when Washington was done. And too bad Jim isn't here, he could do this himself. But the students at Washington High School, we had a team of and we had to wait on the 2 males because all the other males were on the football team and any other males had quit. Only 1 spoke English and 6 were girls. And it was a successful team at the end of the year. I mean, these kids, they got it together. They worked after school. There's Mr. Becker now. They worked after school, and Jim Becker was kind enough to do it through a 4-H program. IPS didn't want to first year try to take it into the classroom, so Jim did it with a 4-H program, and it worked very well. It showed us it works both in school and after school. So thanks to Jim, we now know it works after school as well. But for a teacher in the classroom, you can use this, and Kenny will get into the details of that, and that's what Kenny's all about, is we at Purdue thought it would be appropriate this year as we expand this program to bring on a resource that's actually a teacher that teaches at high school that can talk to you and answer a lot of your questions and help you. And as an example, when we have office hours at Purdue, you have Kenny. And if I can't answer the question, and Kenny can't answer the question, we'll find somebody that can. Between the 2 of us, most likely we can. Down? Sure. Okay. So last year, this is Kenny's crew. And they won the inaugural race at the Brickyard. So as you can tell, they're mighty happy. They got him a Traxxas car, and they got to take the trophy home with them. We've never allowed the trophy to travel before, so now we do. So basically, next year, May 16th and 17th, we'll do it again. We'll do it at the Speedway. So we have the M-STEM 500. It goes on Monday and Tuesday. Tuesday is high school day of the M-STEM 500. That's the 16th. That's the 7th. That's the 16th. Anyway, one of the 2 of them's Tuesday. And on Tuesday's high school day, so what we try to do is do the M-STEM 500 and the high school race both on the same day. So when the students get done with the M-STEM 500, they can go over and watch the high school final, the race, and it's 1 field trip, 1 day. It's a little bit more difficult to break it into multiple days. So basically, our champions from 2016, of course, myself and Kenny, was Sam Hoagland from Central 9, Lisa, you stand up. Lisa is here from Heritage Christian, they take a second. Jim Becker is in the back, he's with the Purdue Extension at the Marion County Fairgrounds, runs our 4-H activities at Washington High School, and Flor Romero is with Washington High School, and then Matt Jones come on board with us all the way down from Switzerland County. And Matt travels a long way to get involved in this, but he's full of fire. So that's kind of our original group from this year that we started out with on the pilot, and we have a grant. The grant. This gives these kids, every kid that races here, no matter what, college or high school, they have this cherished memory of winning it in. I mean, it is, believe it or not, it is a big deal. But we have a grant from the Department of Defense. So the United States Department of Defense has given us a little bit of money to develop high school curriculum. That's what Kenny's about, and hopefully some of you will join in and help Kenny with this. And how do we fit this properly with the correct curricula into the classroom that makes it a very usable tool for all of them? Some will choose to take it after school. Some will choose to take it in school. And with teachers here today, feel free after the session to talk to them, or during the session, bring up your questions. And Lisa, you are all welcome to talk.
And I even brought students along that are in my class this year, so they don't know the ins and outs of everything yet, because they've only been in my class for 6 weeks, so basically since the beginning of August. But they can give you an idea of what we've done. We've had 2 in here that have worked with building this kit, and then we have a couple in here who've also been more on the marketing side, and they can kind of fill you in on what we've done also.
So that's the one cool thing about it, is most people would think that when we sit and talk about high school karting, that we're only talking about engineering and technology students, and we are not. So this actually works very similar to creating a new race team. So to get started, your students have to identify your community partners in your community. They have to develop a presentation of what they're going to do and how they're going to present to your community partners. They invite them in, they do a presentation, and then they're trying to get them to understand the importance of this, and will they give them a little bit of funding or help or support to get this thing going. So it's a big part of it. They have to sit down and figure out project management, develop timelines or Gantt charts. They have to be able to clearly understand, how to make sure they hit their milestones correctly and what it means to scope, slip, and get back, those kind of things. They also pick up a lot of what we would call generally soft skills. I don't really like that word, but soft skills, communication skills, and they got pretty good at it. And so the kids at Washington, and Jim can attest to that, they pretty much made us all cry. When they presented towards the end of the year, it was about what they had learned from this program. And it was pretty much, wow, it was emotional. And they talked about how they could identify now how each one of them had different skill sets, and how that was one of the things that they figured out was how to take each one of those skill sets and pull that into a great position with the team and form a functioning team that really worked. So you had a group of students over here working on marketing, you had media, you had graphics, you had technology, you had engineering guys, you had the whole thing, and everybody working together. And they learned how to do that. But I think the most amazing statement that was made was everything they listed, that this girl listed on her little speech at the end, her final statement was, and we would have never been able to learn this at Washington High School. And they are correct. And so it worked. So we've seen it from the lowest performing school that we've dealt with so far to one of the highest. And Lisa, you can attest to that later and how you found the program and how it worked for you. So as you see, it takes a whole unique group of students. And if you just have technology students, that gives you the chance to actually interact and bring other students in that would help you with the marketing. And now the two learn to appreciate each other. So let's say he was in a technical or career center. The students in the career center might think that, well, the other students look down on them or vice versa, whatever. But that's forcing them to say, hey, we couldn't do this without you. You couldn't do that without us. We have to learn to really respect each other's abilities no matter where they fall and what our original perceptions were. When they're done with this, it'll be a whole different perception of how you look at other individuals and what their skill sets are and where they fit into the world. And I think sometimes they don't look at the world as a big picture. It's more, they're still in high school, but then this starts to open their eyes more of, oh, this is a little bit more than what I thought. So with that, what we call it takes a village. So it takes liberal arts students, it takes engineering students, it takes all of them. And they all have to learn to work together to make this happen.
And when I recruit for my class, I look for each one of these students. I don't want to be sexist anyway, but I try to bring in females. Because in this area, females don't drive very well. And whenever I get a chance, I put them right in front. And they love it because they don't get to shine a whole lot sometimes in this technical area, and then they are thriving in this. The last 2 years I've always had a girl in charge of my marketing department, where if I'm going and they're talking to someone, they're in front of them. They're in front of them, they're talking to them, they know what's going on. So hit those students who are liberal arts. Jared doesn't like engineering really at all, but he's my salesman this year. I already know that. This kid can sell ice till yes money. And I've realized that, I've dealt with it. So I make sure I have everybody in every area in part of my class. I have 2 people here who are part of my building that did a lot of the building and engineering and designing of this. Kenyatta does the media and also a lot of the social media stuff that we post out. So I make sure I get everybody. And when I pick my classes, because a lot of times they let me go through and trying to recruit kids and who's in my class, that I look for each one of those and make sure I hit them. And it's not always your best students, because you want to make sure you hit people in all levels.
I would say we did the same thing. We had art students
Sometimes it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. But
so we also, in the middle of all of this, there are times where, as an example, we took the Washington High School kids to the Dollar Center. And that's, of all things, they got the Rolling Stones car, so lucky them. But anyway, yes, out of this group, tell me which, is it this one I speak English?
It's Victoria. I think Victoria was actually the one that made the little speech at the community partners meeting. Yeah.
And the rest of them don't speak English.
Well, yeah.
Well,
and
limited.
some of them only been in the country maybe a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
And
So at the race, Jim brought in an interpreter. So
yeah,
the little
we had a
fellow in the
couple
road,
people.
this guy, literally, when I wanted to talk to him to tell him what he needed to do a little different or whatever, we had to get the interpreter over, and she had to figure out how to translate what I'm trying to tell him to do on the track. So it was quite interesting, but very welcome. I mean, it's kind of cool to watch them mature and to come along as they did. And places like the Dollar Center, they are a community partner, and they're open anytime we need to do things like this and bring the students in and let them see all the technology as
that was a great
Andretti
trip for
today.
getting everybody focused too. I mean,
Yes, that
people
helped
came
them to
back from that
focus.
excited.
And I'll say most of our sponsors are the mom and pop shops around us. Whether they're restaurants around us, whether they're local businesses. You're not going to get a lot of the big corporations. You're going to get more of the small businesses in your area. The restaurant can maybe provide you food for this event. We got a guy that is going to provide all of our T-shirts. He makes T-shirts locally, so he's just going to give us our T-shirts for us this year. So it's those type of things that you want to look for when you're trying to seek out sponsors.
And on that note, I'm also working a little bit with the Indianapolis Fire Department. Some of the fire departments firemen will step forward if you need a coach. If you need somebody to help and mentor with the kids. And like in the IPS districts, Jim and I have been working on this for a year to get them there. It'd be a big game changer walking into a low performing urban school, so to speak. Here comes a fireman that don't specifically have to have a college degree, is an outstanding citizen, is doing very well in life. And I don't think sometimes some of the deep urban youth really get that exposure. So I think we'll put that into with some of the more urban schools. But basically, this isn't about filling the college career-ready type pipeline. I mean, when Mitch asked me, well, is this focused on filling the pipeline at Purdue? No. If they come to Purdue, great. That's a great result. What we want is to make sure that they do something after high school. Get an apprenticeship. Go to Lincoln Tech. Go to Ivy Tech. Go to Vincennes. It's okay. We call it a highway. So basically we look at it as lanes. And once you get out of high school, what are you going to do? You're entering the highway of life, so to speak. And each ramp that you come to, this exit ramp, one may be going to work, do an apprenticeship or something. The next one may be Lincoln Tech. The next one may be Ivy or Vincennes. And as you go on down the road, there may be the Purdue's and the IU's. And some of them may get off at an exit ramp here or there before they would say choose later in life to continue on and go on up to another one, maybe Purdue or IU. But the point is, let's get them to do something to look at the future and think about what they're going to do once they get out of high school. And are they really going to be ready if they decide to go to college? No matter which one they choose, are they going to have the skill set to be able to succeed there? So it's not about filling a pipeline. And we try, like the MSTEM that goes in middle school, we try to focus every bit of curriculum we develop to meet state standards, because if we do that, then the Department of Education really is on board with this. And we don't like to just present a program and it doesn't really meet anything that you need to use in the classroom. If we develop it, let's make sure that it really fits your needs. It's not an add-on that's going to add to your day, but it's going to be something that enhances the way you can educate a student. So that's what we're really about. It gives a real world application to the equations and the different things that they think, when am I going to use this? Or why are they teaching me this? A lot of it really comes together when they form a team. They have to do all this, work together, and wait till they get to the track and all the logistics, everything that's involved with that. It gives them that first taste of the real world without really being out there. So target student population, yeah, a BS in discipline and an associate's degree in manufacturing, technology, business, a direct entry into manufacturing, and then students are interested in business, art, design, any kind of career pathway. You know, and I only thing I cannot figure out at Purdue how to do with that go-kart is I haven't had a monkey or a dog driving the cart, so I can't get the vet school involved. But eventually, I'll figure it out. So when we do the race, that's the other thing that's kind of funny, is we don't, it's not just about the race. So they can win the race and get first place, just like Decatur did. But as we go forward, we do this with the colleges, and we will make sure that as the years go forward from here, community outreach. They actually have to go out into the community and say, as an example, they would go to the Greenwood Park Mall, set up a little display, and talk about their go-kart, the program, and electric vehicles.
We are at 3 to 4 home football games a year with our go-kart sitting out in front of the stands. And while we're there, we have a laser engraver. So we're laser engraving name tags, keychains, picture frames, whatever, as part of a fundraiser for us. So not only are we trying to make money, and we'll make $100 a night, $150 a night, but we're also getting out to our community, showing that this is what we have. You know, this is the program that we got. You know, so I'll have 1 or 2 of our carts sitting out there with us. We'll have our laser engraver out there sitting with us. We have homecoming coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. We're going to be out there at homecoming, laser engraving stuff, selling it, and everything else. We'll do craft fairs with our laser engraver, and when we're at craft fairs, our school, our PTA sponsors the craft fair, and we usually have a booth there. I try to usually get our PTA to donate the booth to us. Sometimes that's hard, but we're out there laser engraving. But again, our cart's out there with us. And our kids are out there. We're all dressed in shirts and dressed alike. We have a banner that's behind us displaying all of our sponsors that we have for that year. And getting our name out there, getting what we're doing out there. And it's nice to, when parents come up and say, I didn't know you guys have this. You know, what's this all about? And the kids can just talk about it. So even whether we make money or not, which is our goal, we're also getting exposure to our school in a positive way.
And getting the students also join me a couple times a year. As an example, we did an event this year at the Indiana State Museum. We did a big one on Purdue Day at the museum. We did another one at the Vector Robotics Competition. We have several events through the year that there are opportunities. If your students would like to join in and join interest in community outreach, there's plenty of opportunities to do it. And so when we go to these events, that's what we do, is we take the go-karts and we let this, Kenny and I kind of step back and we'll answer the teachers' questions if they want, but pretty much let the students do it. It's their outreach. Let them market it. Let them promote it.
My students will soon realize this is the most valuable part. After that, it's all.
So designers, if they have to design anything that they do special for the car, and Kenny and I have been talking in great length about this, and we're really looking at something that we'll discuss with all of this as we go forward. But we're thinking about changing the design so that we do one race later, maybe in the fall something, and we'll talk to you about it. We need to want it into this a sprint race. What about an endurance race? We have to bring those design challenges forward. But we'll get to all of that as we mature and grow. Energy efficiency, there's a box that goes off to the go-kart. The energy efficiency box, what it does is it monitors the power coming in and going straight to the motor. So I don't care what controller you use. I mean, we've got it all spec'd out, but it really doesn't matter, because what we're going to look at the end of the race, we're going to pull all those boxes off, download the data. I mean, literally, this takes just a few minutes, and we know exactly where everybody's at. Did anybody go over power of what they were supposed to? But overall, who finished the most laps using the least amount of power? And then you win the energy efficiency. So when you combine the three together, that's what that traveling trophy is about. And as you can see, there's quite a few that get involved.
Every year at the end of our season, we have a sponsorship dinner, and that's part of the money that we raise. So we'll bring in food, we'll bring in the sponsors, we'll bring in the kids and their families. So that's what you see up here at the top. I invite our administration. In this particular year, I know our assistant superintendent and superintendent both showed up, along with my principal at the dinner. So they were all three there. I think they even had one of the directors of transportation there also. So we had several administrations at this one. This is where my son's in the same school district as I teach in. He's at an elementary school. So they had a career day. So their teacher invited me to come in, and I said, "Hi, my name's Mr. Owens. Now, here's 2 students." They did the rest of the talk. Okay? And I let them talk. This was a couple years ago. And then we took pictures of it so that we let all the kids sit in the cart. So a lot of times when we go to events, we put the cart on the ground. The kids go, "Can we sit in it?" Absolutely. Hop on in. We'll show, hey, you just make sure you step here, do whatever. I have everything on the plug so that they can't make it go. But just getting out in that community, like I said, this is part of the community exposure that we do within our district in order to get our name out.
And when you really think about it, when racing was at its peak, the reason was because you had people from your area that you supported and you thought that, hey, this was the guy. Or you had a favorite, whoever it was. This brings community back into this, more involved with the school activity. And it's not just basketball or football. So now this is something that takes a lot of engineering and technology, but you're getting the community support into that as well. I think that's important, and I think it's very important what the kids learn and what they share with their parents and what they take home and what they'll leave with when they go to work. So we try to make this as easy as possible for teachers. We've got a teacher's guide that is developed. We've got a purchasing guide, a program overview document, a part assembly manual. We have negotiated on our constantly revising our pricing with the manufacturers. It's about $1,100 for a drive time. We negotiated with Interstate Batteries, and they've become a great partner. They're selling us batteries that are about $120 retail battery for $49 their cost. And so they're supplying us with batteries. Don Schumacher Racing, so far, I'll keep you posted, that so far last year, Don Schumacher, which is a drag team, I don't know if many of you know that, top fuel team, et cetera, out in Brownsburg. Well, Don Schumacher owns a battery charging manufacturing company, and they supply the chargers, no cost. The chassis, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to go with a used chassis, you can get down around $1,000 for the chassis. If you want to go with a brand new one, this is a purpose-built Margay. And when I say purpose-built, the reason it was purpose-built is because when you look at it, it has rubber isolators on the nut bars. And so it doesn't interfere with your chassis dynamics as opposed to the weight of the batteries. So your best bang for your buck, so to speak, in my opinion, is buy the Margay. You got 1 year cost. This thing is going to be good for at least 5 years. And some get a little concerned that when we're looking, when you take this one, now we're at 44, you're going to end up around $5 grand, maybe a little more. The thing to remember is your maintenance cost on year 2. What do you think it's going to cost you this year, Lisa? Yeah, you're going to spend less than $1,000 at the end anyway. And so, to maintain the car, if you had to put all 4 new tires on it and say it replace a chain or a sprocket in your entry fee, you're going to be way under $1,000. Your second, third, and fourth year. So your initial cost is a little high, so that's where getting the community partners to help you is great. After that, it's piece cake.
We have 3 carts. This is the only new one I got. And we built it specifically for the demonstration for the kit. But my other 2 were used frames that I bought, and we did all the welding. My students did all the welding. They did all the wiring and everything else. I probably have less than $4,000, including all the safety equipment.
When he says safety equipment, helmet, suits.
Yeah, helmet, suits, and everything else.
Right.
And I'm realistically, I'm probably closer to 35. So.
I would say we got a little bit stuck because we don't have any kind of shop or anything.
Right.
So it was sitting in my chemistry lab. I'm a chemical engineer, and so we really got kind of stuck. We didn't have wire cutters, we didn't have drill press, we didn't have anything to weld with. So we were a little bit stuck, and we were, looking at purchasing and buying. And of course, we had some people come in and help let us borrow their shop and let us borrow their equipment and things like that. But so that's one thing we're just thinking about. Like, we're kind of a small school with no shop.
And that's one thing to remember is as an example, Kenny and I have been working with the manufacturers for this one. You will be able to order this kit as an example. You can call Margay and order the entire kit. It will come with the chassis, rolling chassis. It will come with all your electronics, and then battery box and motor mount. So literally, all you're going to do is bolt things together. We may cut some polycarb pieces. That's about it. The rest of it will be.
This was been designed to where, you know, if you look at the purchasing guide, I think it gives you the three options. You know, option one basically is they're going to be as turnkey as you can get, where we're going to give you everything. We'll probably give you the wire already cut, crimped together, and the links that you need, everything. And all you're going to have to do is drill some holes through some metal, probably cut some polycarbonate to some length, and bolt it. So you're looking at some very inexpensive tools. I mean, you're going to need some tools like, you know, basic socket steps, drills, and that type of stuff. Versus if you go down to option 3, that's where you're doing everything on yourself. You're buying a used frame. You're welding the battery boxes on. So if you have a welding department in your school or your vocational school that can do TIG welding, you know, let your kids design a box and then you send it over there and let them fabricate it. And then that's what we did at our school. And like I said, we were down probably around $3,500.
And I'm currently working with Home Depot, AutoZone, and O'Reilly to see which ones, like AutoZone. When did AutoZone is next door to Washington last year?
Yeah.
So AutoZone with Washington, as an example, they took the basic toolkit and they supplied it. They went over with the kids and they got the tools together they needed. Here you go. So we're going to try to work with them 3 to see which one of those 3 will also donate tools to each one of you.
Or reduce cost.
Yeah. One or the other. But we're constantly working to get this cost down and keep the family down as much as we can.
And give you guys easy options.
So we're always looking for partners when we're doing development, testing, and curriculum in various types of academic settings. So whether you're doing this project in the classroom, if you do it in an after-school club, if it's a project-based environment, other venues, we're trying to work with all those different kind of environments to see how it fits and how it benefits the teachers and the students, no matter which environment you put them in. So we've tried it in, what would you consider yours out of? You're somewhere between.
Yeah, I'm somewhere between these two. Basically, what I have done, if you're familiar with the Tech Ed curriculum, I took engineering design development and basically made it my capstone course. So I don't do it under Project Lead the Way. I do it as a non-Project Lead the Way engineering design development course and make it a racing team. So we focus on marketing at the beginning of the school year and design. We did things a little bit differently this year so that we could get this ready to go. And then we used, the last couple of years, we started building around January and then had it ready to go for May.
And so why are we going to take it statewide? Basically, we want to get every high school that feeds into any college, whether it's Ivy Tech or Purdue or whatever. Anything that is post-high school, if that's a feeder school for one of those, we want to be able to talk to all of them. We want to take this out statewide. Next year, we'd like to, according to the LIFT grant, some of our deliverable rules would be Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. The year after that, it's nationwide. So this thing grows and grows and grows and grows. And that's why we're offering this opportunity to you as a group here in the central part of the state is we know that the strongest core we will have will be here. And hopefully, all of you within a year or so will be very similar to Kenny and will be able to help us if we're going to try to do other schools in surrounding states. We will need more than one teacher that will be able to help us to talk with others. But it's a big goal. The Department of Defense sees it as a very valuable tool because the last I was with the United States Army at an NHRA event, they said 9 of 10 recruits do not get accepted in the military. They're so drone-oriented and technology-based, they're not taking the boots on the ground guys anymore. They want technology, just like industries do. So it's becoming a defense issue at this point, that we don't have people that are skilled in STEM disciplines, and we don't have people that have that. Your own skilled craftsmen are gone. And without that, how do you fight a war? Interesting talk on that. They're on board 100%. It's a good thing. The other thing is, with our college kids, when they're at the track, like we're getting ready to have an event in the fall. So we'll have an event in a few weeks up at Purdue, and I'll send all of you an invite. You can come up and watch. So Kitty will bring some of the high school carts. Lisa can bring hers if she wants. We will have a couple of gas carts from the Purdue Grand Prix, a couple of electric carts from the collegiate area gym, and it lets the students be on campus in the fall. It lets them interact with the college students, and the college students will walk over and look at their carts and talk about all kinds of different things. We're going to have workshops throughout the year where we'll show you how to balance that cart, how to sit down with a set of long anchor scales, set the cart down on it, and actually balance your cart out. Where you've got your front to rear ratios correct, you've got your cross weights correct. We've got spindle lasers. We'll show you how to do those so you can set up your toe in, toe out, camber caster. We'll show you all that. And the way we will do that is we're going to have workshops throughout the year. So as an example, Saturday's info session will be at Speedway Indoor Karting that's owned by Sarah Fisher and her husband Andy. But once this winter, we're going to have a practice Saturday at Speedway Indoor Karting for the electric carts. So when it's cold outside and snow everywhere and the students are kind of, anybody's got a cart they want to test, we'll run over to Speedway Indoor Karting on that day and we'll test it. And you'll see how it runs. So you won't have to wait till the spring. So the other thing that we have at Purdue too that's open is we have a brand new Land & Sea dyno that is a go-kart dyno. And it's open to, if you guys would want to use it, all you have to do is schedule time. And I have a TA, a teaching assistant up at Purdue, and he'll meet you at the dyno and set you up with the dyno time when you get to that point. So if you ever want to put a cart on a dyno, that's available as well. And like I said, it's brand new. But that's why we want to have these workshops, is to make you understand we're not going to let you just hang out there on your own. We understand from watching what Kenny went through, watching what Lisa went through last year, we need to have workshops. I think we need to have some more info sessions, but basically workshops to help you as you grow and come along. When you get ready and you're into the car building part of it, you'll come to a workshop. The other thing is social change is really what this is about. I mean, when you really look at it, this is not male-centric. There's male and female involved in it, and it brings about a lot of social change. It brings about the social change of we're not leaving anybody out. And I think the attitude that the student walks away and the community walks away with after you interact with them, like what Kenny does in the football game, you start to see things going at what I call kind of going a little retro, going back. He's getting, when I went to your banquet that you showed at there, I was amazed. I don't see that many parents and students and stuff all working together anymore. Went to a couple of quarter mission events and was blessed to see, wow, grandpa, dad, and son all working together. Unbelievable. Haven't seen that since my day. This is what we're trying to do though. So as these students work on this, if they're going to go to the test, have their parents, I mean, like when they come up to Purdue, if their parents want to drive up and watch for the day, great, that's fabulous. However, we can get them involved, but we want to kind of do a little bit of social change where we've got people in the community that help and get involved and really support these students and understand we got to do something to get these kids really ready for the world that they're going to be in. And it's not just simply hand them a high school diploma and see you later. I think when your students walk out, like when I listened to each one of them say where they were going as they were getting ready to graduate, it was amazing. It was really amazing. And I think that every one of his left is probably very well prepared for what they wanted to do.
I hope so. So here's just a little interesting.
Okay.
It actually was an interview, but I don't think we have sound. So,
That's all right. If you want to do this, if you want to do the video without sound, go for it. I don't think
we're going to get one. So this video was actually created by my students. Like I say, when I walk into class, I don't do anything, guys. I make sure that it gets done. Maybe right at the very end, I might start helping, tie wires down and make sure connections are good or whatever. But when it comes to developing things, my kids are doing it all. So this is, like I said, this video was created by one of my kids. He's actually going to be the one putting, hopefully, this lecture or this workshop on YouTube over the next couple of days. So when we get the address and the YouTube channel set up with video on it. We'll send you guys all the link to the video so that you guys can watch it. They're actually, yeah, this is the interview. I have speakers on my laptop, but I don't know if it's gonna, I doubt it's loud enough. But, and that was just, I didn't think about bringing a board for that until just now. So, these are three of my marketing kids. This is our website that we developed. And again, kids developed the website. They did it all from scratch. It was a free website, guys. I went to Wix.com and you get a free website. They have, your address has Wix in it, but in my case, who cares? So that website cost me nothing. And the kids can go on and edit it, and I make sure that they edit every year. I have 2 or 3 kids that are in charge of the websites. And then, you know, they're going to create a sponsorship presentation where they go out. And again, the kids, 4 or 5 kids, I said, guys, you need to know the presentation. You need to make sure that you know it. And so whenever someone asks you about our program, you can answer their question. And if it's a technical question that they can answer, you know, I will jump in. I'm not going to hang them out to dry. But I want them to know what's going on. Here's laser engraving. So they just talk about how we go out to the football games and laser engrave. I make these little keychains on. They're like a 3" by 1.5" that I laser engrave with whatever logo, text, whatever they want on it. I put a lanyard and a keychain on it. I have maybe 50 cents in them, so for $3. And I'm actually probably over exaggerating 50 cents. I probably have about a quarter. So then here we got a couple kids here building it, where they're talking about building the car in our lab. They built it all. Again, this is the previous year where the kids were building it. You know, those 2, they did every single bit of the welding on that blue cart. And that was actually the cart that won last year. I didn't touch. I showed them how to weld with some scrap pieces, and then I made them do everything else. And then there's a cart sitting in front of my son's school. So I try to stay back as much as possible. You know, the programming of the controller, it's easy. I mean, kids can program robotics all the time. This is basically a drag and drop type thing. You hit the button that says set. You know, I could teach you guys how to program this thing probably in about 30 seconds if I really wanted to. I mean, you would have to play with it to figure out which settings you like. But and then there's some race footage of the race from last year where we had 7 carts out of the schools that you saw up there. We had 2. Heritage Christian, you had 1. Central 9 had 2. And we had Washington and Switzerland County. So, and again, the kids created this video from last year. So we had GoPros on the carts. We had, you know, the iPad sitting on the side. And again, I said, hey guys, you need to create a video, put all the footage together, edit it, and make a video for us. So I market it. So I treat it like a racing team. Is how I go about the entire curriculum. And I just know kind of what needs to be done next. And it varies. It's a very difficult class to grade because not every student is going to be working on the same thing. You know, these 2 students right here do a lot of the laser engraving and staining for us and marketing type stuff. These 2 do a lot of the building. But they have no idea probably what the letter, they're not doing anything with the letter that they're creating in the presentation yet. Now they'll have to learn it later on, but they're not necessarily making it because they got other things they got to do. So I have like 15, 20 kids, and they're all doing something different. So it makes it fun. And then they're going to be here later on to ask questions, and we'll have a question session between us, and you guys can ask. You can integrate the course, guys. You can make it a standalone. When we do the MSTEM events, I have teachers come up to me all the time. Well, what about integrated chemistry physics in this class? I'm sure. If it's something you think can work, go for it. You know, don't be afraid to try stuff. You never know what's going to work. You know, get out there and try things. There's no set way you got to do this, and that's what I really like about it because there's so many options. You know, Lisa, you have it with what class do you have yours with?
Well, we have a new engineering class and our physics classes. So our physics classes, our advanced engineering did a lot of the design for the battery boxes and the plates. And then our physics classes did videos on the physics of go-karting, put them on QR codes so that people
And really, if you're building by January, you should have plenty of time. You know, my kids are in class for 45 minutes a day, and that's our class period is 49. So then you got, obviously your introduction, taking attendance, and cleanup time. So they maybe get 30 to 35 minutes of work time, and they had this one built in like 5 weeks.
Yeah, we didn't get our cart until the end of March.
Right. So.
We didn't have a dedicated class, so we were pushing.
Yeah, so and if you do it as a club, you might be pushing a little more. Our goal this year, guys, is we realize that there's some problems like that, is to try to get stuff to you guys a lot sooner. But in order for that to happen, we need to know what we need to get. And then, go ahead and go to the next slide. I think the next slide is our contact information. Partners. That is Andretti.
Yep.
Thank you.
And actually, we really appreciate everything Andretti does for us, and some of our students from the collegiate program is a natural transition into Formula E. So Formula E is IndyCar type car, some Formula cars, but it's completely 100% electric. If you've never watched a Formula E race, well, you should this year. This year, which will start in the next couple of weekends, if you watch, it's either on the NBC Sports or Fox. If you watch really close, it's going to be interesting this year. They're going to do an autonomous race before the actual race at every race this year. So that first autonomous race, I wouldn't miss it for the world. It's either going to be a glorious success in autonomous racing or a major disaster in motorsport. Most likely the second, but we'll see. And so they're going to continue to do that. But as you see, the students that we train with electric go-karts, once they make it up to college, the difference between a collegiate EV kart and what Formula E is doing is just the size. Size of the batteries, size of the motors, size of the controller. There's not really any difference. So once they're done, and they've really competed on an international stage, so to speak, with electric go-karts, lithium-ion powered ones, they're ready. And so it's a really good fit. The other thing to remember is, I don't know if any of you have seen many of the NASCAR races this season so far. They're having a hard time. IndyCar's having a hard time with numbers. NHRA seems to be they're holding their own at the moment. But we have the lowest number of students in the state of Indiana's history that are 16 years old and never applied for a beginner's permit. In the state's history. Now, any of you that have hair this color, remember that you were sitting on the damn steps of the license branch on that day that you could get your regular driver's license. Not no more. They don't seem to have that interest like we do. So in turn, that comes right down to motorsports as well. If we can't figure out how to get them excited into something, well, motorsports, as an example, the Indy 500, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, will that be there when E looks like me? So, that is the Formula E car. Beautiful picture of it. Jimmy Simpson from Purdue won all 4 years at Purdue. He won the Purdue Grand Prix. 1 year he won the Purdue Grand Prix, the EV Grand Prix at Purdue. That's a state regional event, and at Indianapolis, and he's also the only Triple Crown winner ever in Purdue's history. So, basically, if you would like to speak with anybody that has already did this, there's kitties available tonight. So is Lisa, and Jim Becker is here with 4-H. He's did out of school. These two specialize in school. So I'll open it up, and I'll let Kenny take it from here with questions and answers. And if you feel free, if there's something Lisa can help you with, Jim can help you with, great. And I'll go let Brady know we got about 5-10 minutes. You can come back and take you on a tour. And don't forget, get some of our pencils and backpacks, because they've been sitting in the lab for years. The kids been active, so get all your up.
Does it have to be a used or new car? Can it be built from scratch?
It needs to be a sprint style car frame. So just as a safety feature that we have, so we don't want these homemade things. So yes, it does have to be a sprint. But I picked up one of my sprint frames from Comet for $1,000. So
Are we free to go shop for our own as long as it's a sprint frame?
as long as it's a sprint style frame, yes. So if you have someone that donates it, then you're free to have it. So if you have if you know someone who's been race go-karts,
That's my thought, yeah.
and just be careful that you can still get parts for it. Because I had one that was given to me that was sold, I can't find parts for it. So it basically is just collecting ducks in my closet. But yes, as long as it's a sprint style frame, you're okay to use it. And that's it. There's a detailed rule sheet that we have that's going to be online. I'm also developing kind of like a quick start teacher guide. So like these are the, it basically kind of goes through, hey, you want to use this motor, these batteries, these controllers, this, setup. These are the rules that you want to make sure you pay attention to. And then it kind of says, for further detail, officials will be going by. It's like a 20-page document of rules. So, but we're trying to simplify it as much as possible.
Can you give an estimate of how many hours outside of school you spent with this team, with this project, and also do you personally receive a certificate as the advisor?
Okay, let me go back. Outside of school, over the last couple of years, I go to the football games, so 3 or 4 football games a year. We went to, like I said, the Indiana State Museum where I'd spend a day there. I went to the robotics competition. So some of the things that helped promote it with Purdue, I went to. Building-wise, really until like the last week, because we all know high school students, they like to procrastinate. Crunch time. We would maybe spend maybe an hour or 9 o'clock a week building, making sure that everything's perfect to go. Other than that, most of it's in class. But I have a class period a day, every day at least for 90 minutes, 45 minutes, basically, where my kids are working on it from beginning of school to May. So it's both dual semester course. And that includes both marketing and building and everything else. Now that Purdue has brought me on, my school district gave me an extra hour prep period. So I have 2 prep periods at the end of the day, and that basically is to help you guys. So I can go out and do basically house calls. So like if you need me to come out and say, hey, I'm having trouble with this wiring or whatever, can you come take a look at it? So my district has gave me permission to go out and do that also. Basically it's supplemented by Purdue in order to do that. And then also to help make rules documents and do anything that Danny needs me to do. And then obviously the office calls and that type of stuff. So that has changed this year. So it's not necessarily another stipend, but I do get an extra prep period that's devoted to helping them. And that's going to in turn basically help you guys.
Did you put any prerequisites in for having students in it? Do they have to go through any certain courses? Because you're pulling from all over.
I put a prerequisite in that they should have at least one engineering course prior, but I have had, I'm trying to think, I think I've had 1 or 2 that did not. I'm very blessed with my administration. They kind of let me do, I wouldn't say whatever, but they let me do a lot of things, but in turn, they know I'm doing a lot of this, which is a good form, publicity for them. So I kind of go to my administration and say, in May or whatever, say, hey, these are the list of students that wouldn't mind having. And then they try to fit them into their schedule. So I try to make sure that they have an engineering course. Like I think everybody this year had at least one of my engineering courses prior, or at least an introduction course. But I don't necessarily say always. I do make mine be seniors just for liability reasons. There's some liability issues, like when we drive at the Motor Speedway, if they're not over 18, they have to have parent consent, notaries, and all that. And I tell my kids, look, I'm not going to go through the headache of it. So if you're not 18 by May, you can't drive. And just to make my life simpler. And I think we actually put a stipulation juniors and seniors, right, driving on the course. So they.
Oh yeah. And actually, Jim just left, but we have forms that you can actually go to the parents, do their signature, and what Jim Becker did last year, because again, remember, not many of his crew were one spoke English, so he had to literally go to their homes with an interpreter to the parent to sign. The interpreter explained, they signed it, he became the notary and notarized it. That's what he did.
I don't have quite that many issues, but I do have, I'll send forms over with my kids and just say, hey, you got to have these signed back. I haven't done that yet this year because we haven't done any racing or driving yet.
I have a clipboard up in front of the room, and if you're interested, give me some contact information. If you feel more comfortable with contacting me later, if you're interested, that's okay. Well, you've got my contact information, I will be here. And basically, feel free to take as many backpacks as you want, as many pencils as you want, and the great thing is just take one through anything else.
Here's our contact information also. So Danny's email and cell phone, my email and cell phone. My office hours are basically anytime after 2. So I'm going to say 48 hours in reply, but I'm going to try to do it the next day. So I'm going to try to do everything in less than 24. But if you hit me at 2 or 3 o'clock, more than likely I'll get a reply back to you pretty quick because that's the time that I'm devoting to this type of stuff. So feel free to call. I know me anytime after 2. Really, you can email me anytime, and then I'll just make a reply.
And mine, I do mine till 11 o'clock at night or early or 7 in the morning. I work all the time trying to make this thing happen. So, pretty good. You ready for a tour? Thank you very much, Brady, and thank you to Andretti Motorsports for hosting us. We really appreciate it. We're giving a great tour.
Yes. Hi everyone, my name is Brady Bennett.